Hey everybody, what's up? No Arrows here. Merry Christmas, guys. I've got another somewhat topical throwback review today, and it's going to be Len Wein's original classic Swamp Thing run. And the reason this is topical, in case you haven't heard the news, is that in a couple weeks now, Wein is going to be returning to his character and writing a new Swamp Thing miniseries for DC. And I'm pretty stoked about it. I don't know about you guys. I know a lot of people, haven't read these original comics. Like a lot of people kind of start at the Alan Moore run, and that's very fair. Alan Moore's run is a classic, and he did introduce a lot of things that really redefine the character. The Swamp Thing in his early appearances is kind of his plant powers are sort of limited. Like we see him regenerate himself somewhat and regrow, and there's like a part where he stands in one place for too long and he kind of starts to take root in the ground. But he's not like doing the classic Swamp Thing stuff that we know him for today. Like he's not tapping into the green and stuff or whatever it is, and he's not like, basically regrowing himself anywhere in the world and all this stuff. He's kind of like a plant-based Hulk in a way. But I personally, like, I don't know how popular this opinion is, but I would say this is like as good, maybe better than Moore's run. I mean, it's just like Wein is such he's one of the best comic writers of all time. He has such a way with his narration in particular. Like he just has he's perfectly suited for this style of comic. Like he really sells like the grittiness of the character and like the moss-encrustedness of him, and and all that. Like he has a gift with like sort of dark sort of horror writing, I guess. And yeah, it's like perfectly used here. And of course you also have Bernie Wrightson's art, which is, Bernie's great. I feel like he's at his best in black and white, but he's just fine in color too. It's a very well drawn comic. It runs for 13 issues. Wein worked on this comic, and Bernie Wrightson draws the first 10, and Nestor Redondo draws the final 3. And it's really hard to actually find these stories have been reprinted many times, but usually they leave off the stuff that Redondo drew, which is too bad, because those stories are good too, and they kind of wrap up sort of the first arc of Swamp Thing's saga. Like it sort of if you just read the first 10, like at first it was reprinted as a Roots of the Swamp Thing miniseries. This volume's also called Roots of the Swamp Thing, but this was a mini in the 80s, shortly after Moore's run started getting really big. They reprinted the Wein stuff, but that only covered the Wrightson drawn stuff, and then it was reprinted in trade form as Dark Genesis, I think it was called, and that was only covered the Wrightson stuff. But then a few years ago they came out with this trade, Roots of the Swamp Thing, again, and it has the full 13 issues in it. One of them has Batman. Just, for the most part it's very disconnected from the DC universe, but they had to throw Batman in just because it's DC, and that's how things work at DC. And it's sort of a road trippy style story in a way. These 13 issues are. It's like there's a definite continuity to the issues. Like if Swamp Thing gets out of one situation, then usually the last page will foreshadow the next threat of the next issue, and like usually the next issue will begin like right after he got out of the previous issue's dilemma. So he's always, and it has like a road trip format. See, here we have him jumping a boxcar here. So it's kind of reminiscent of the, if you're familiar with the Moore arc, where that introduces John Constantine, that has Swamp Thing traveling around America. That's where that came from. It came from this Wein style here, or his storytelling format. And you got other characters too. You've got Matt Cable, and you've got Abby helping him out. Or like at first, like Matt Cable, he thinks that, okay, well, first off, I guess I shouldn't just assume you all know what Swamp Thing's all about. It's like this guy, Alec Holland, and he's like, him and his wife, or I don't know, is she his wife? I don't know. They're studying like plant regeneration or something, and like like these bad guys, these thugs, like they threaten him and stuff. They want him to hand over his formula, and he doesn't want to do it. So like they blow up his lab, and like the chemicals they affix themselves onto Holland, and then he runs out into the swamp, and he's like on fire and stuff, and then he goes in, and then when he comes out, he's the Swamp Thing, and he's just like this green guy. And Matt Cable is a government worker who is like sponsoring, I guess was like employing Holland to do his research. So like Matt, he thinks that Swamp Thing is like somehow responsible for Holland's death, so he's like chasing Swamp Thing around the country like he wants revenge, like not aware that Swamp Thing actually is Holland. And Abby, she just kind of tags along with Matt after she crosses paths with the both of them. Now we're getting into the Nestor Redondo drawn story here. This Redondo's good too. I don't really know why they never reprinted his stuff. I think he's just fine. I'd like to see them redo the or reprint some more, pre-Moore Swamp Thing. That would be really cool. But yeah. I'm really looking forward to the new mini. Like I said, Wein has a great style. His the way he writes narration is just so good that it still reads great even today. I think you could hand this to somebody and not tell them it was written and drawn in the 70s, and they wouldn't really be able to distinguish it from the Moore run. Or they could probably distinguish it maybe just based on the fact that Swamp Thing isn't, he doesn't have his full power set yet, but like the quality of the art and the quality of the writing, it just shows that age is not a factor. Wein can, I would, like it's not like a thing where the game changed and Wein's no longer relevant. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, this is still top quality comic writing, and if the new series is anywhere near as well written as this is, and I mean, I won't touch on the art because I mean, it's nobody can really. I mean, there's few modern artists who can really touch what Wrightson did, but I mean, just from a writing standpoint, if the writing is, anywhere near as good as it is in these issues, it'll be a mini series to pick up for sure. So yeah, definitely check this out if you like Swamp Thing. It's called Roots of the Swamp Thing. One thing I'd like to mention is it's printed on like really cheap paper. DC, they outdid themselves this time. This is like even worse than their Vertigo stuff. But yeah,